Michael just got up immediately, so hopefully he'll be back soon. Michael didn't just abandon all hope after one game. He knows he's still in it. Don't worry, chat. So yeah, and Michael will go first this game, which is always nice to go first. I feel like that's so I think it's been worked out that with perfect play, the player going first wins about 52% of the time in Scrabble. So it's a slight first mover advantage just because you can set the pace of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely prefer going first. I don't understand when people are like, yeah, I like to go second. Like, I've heard people say that. I'm like, why?
Yeah, I would maybe only say against very specific people. Like, it depends. If I know how a player opens and I know how they'd want me to play going second, that'd be the only way I could maybe ever want it.
Yeah, maybe. I couldn't even think of a player that I would want to do that against, though. Like, yeah. I could just go first in exchange, you know?
Exactly. So that's a good point, that if it was truly always better to go second, then yeah, the player going first could just make it so they go second by exchanging and improve their rack.
Yeah.
So the players are squaring up the tiles now. So it will be Michael's turn to go first.
Yeah, that probably feels good after having a loss like that. There's nothing worse than your opponent starting the game with an opening bingo and you're just sitting there like, shit.
Yeah, so it looks like Michael's taking his time, stacking up those tiles, throwing them in the bag. Or he looks ready to play by his hands. To my best knowledge, with my vast knowledge of hand movement analysis.
I think you had a good read there.
Yeah, I guess you actually have hand movement analysis expertise.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there are as many tells maybe in Scrabble as there are in poker, but you can definitely tell when some people get, overly excited. Maybe they have a bingo. Sometimes you can read into like people's body language and stuff like that, but I try not to do it too often because a lot of the time it's just me overthinking and thinking that people, are giving away stuff they're not giving away.
Yeah, I think overthinking, I've been guilty of that for certain types of
Yeah, I think we all have.
So Michael does pick up double A's here. I'd be curious, so he has Aishia set up, and I'd be curious if he's thinking about, is there a way to set up the X given that you want to make that play? So you either play Aishia or Ixia here, most likely, and so yeah, I'd be curious of his placement.
He decides to play off his X. I think that's probably what I would have done too. I'm not the biggest setup person. I know a lot of people love that, but I just find that it doesn't work as often as it should unless it's a super good setup that's like really hard to block. But trying to set up on the first move, usually if you're trying to set something up, you're creating a really good scoring spot for your opponent that's most likely going to be taken anyway.
Yeah, no, if we had more time, I would have had to think on it. But yeah, it often, if you're hoping your opponent plays stupidly, that's not going to be a good decision most of the time.
Yeah, so. And it's looking pretty good for Michael. He did pick up his blank, so we're probably going to see a bingo coming down next turn. Of course, depending on what Ori does here.
Yeah, I mean, one thing Ixia does is it is kind of annoying to play sevens, just because the I is one of the more annoying vowels. It doesn't take as many letters at the end for two-letter words as some of the other vowels. So, yeah, we'll see how that works. And the V is also a tile, and the C, for that matter, both don't make two-letter words either.
Yeah, we'll see what Ori ends up doing if he does give Michael a spot to play any bingo here.
Yeah, so it looks like Ori was set up WUZ. I'm guessing that's going to...
Yeah, that looks pretty good underneath the A of Ixia.
Yeah, so that will be 30 points. And
that will give Michael a spot for a bingo.
Yeah, so I think this is the play you want to make, though. And he is hovering over the board and puts it down now.
Yeah, and we're probably going to see something like Achieve come down underneath AW, making AWE.
Yeah, Achieve or Archive, something like that. So, I think Achieve scores a bit more, though. So, yeah, that should be the play.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
And so he has it arranged. He's
Yeah,
putting
that
down the
triples
tiles
both
now.
the C and the V, so that's going to be a pretty good score despite it not even being a double word. That's going to score a lot.
Yeah, it scores 84 points, so that's
Yeah,
a
that's
solid
huge.
start to the game and exactly what Michael needs after a rough
Yeah,
game
I'm
one.
honestly happy to see Michael get a bingo down here.
Yeah,
Like I
that's
said
true.
before, I just want to see a lot of Scrabble, so I'm sort of rooting for Michael this game. Just so we even the score, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely makes it more exciting
It
for
does.
us.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
have any favorites here in this matchup. I just want to see a lot of good Scrabble.
yeah, I mean, I'm fakely rooting against Michael just because in advance of one game earlier in this tournament, he asked who's commentating, and Christian told him Morris and Matt Koenig. He said, "Oh, I love Matt Koenig." So,
I'm sorry to
so,
hear that.
so I'm just gonna say, "Oh, I love Ori. I love Michael too." But so
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad I wasn't included in that sentence when he asked because he'd probably be like, Annette, who?
yeah, exactly. Uh, so yeah, but yeah,
Looks
maybe
like
in
Ori has
chat.
WAP set up here.
Yeah, and so I think that's going to go above the IXI and Ixia.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You want to get rid of some of your clunkier tiles that scores a bunch, and after a play like Achieve, I mean, if you have scoring tiles, there isn't that much to do aside from go there or maybe
Yeah.
underneath the A
You
in
could go
Achieve.
underneath the A as well, yeah. Yeah, I'm
So
not sure
yeah,
what I would be going for here. I think that looks like a pretty decent play. I mean, OBA is a little vowel heavy maybe as a leave, but it does keep some of the best bingo tiles. If WH8B was a word, I probably would have preferred that over it, but you know, can't have it all.
yeah, yeah. I think the key thing there is that scored 36 points. A play like Bow and AW underneath the A only
I think
scores
maybe something
26.
like WOB underneath AW would be possibly the best leave, but it does set up an S hook, which I'm not sure you want to do.
Yeah, and it scored a lot less.
Yeah.
And now Ori has the three T's. I guess Michael only had two T's when he missed a Twitter through a T, but it looks like Michael's setting up Zingy on his rack.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's going to be a pretty good score.
yeah, and it
You could
doesn't
also
really
consider
give.
something like Guy underneath the A. That
Yeah,
leaves
true.
pretty well.
It keeps IN for ING, but as we know, we've seen on this stream, ING can be a trap. So maybe he just playing Zingy off now makes the most sense.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really fault him for just taking the points.
Yeah, but that will be interesting to see if an F is drawn soon. I'd be curious if a player will be willing to play if off of the I and Zingy, just
Yeah.
because that is the only triple letter score open, but that would create a juicy bingo lane ending in an S or an F for that matter, since if ticks
Yeah,
both a back pass
unless you
or off.
have the S there yourself, you're probably going to be less likely to want to set up that lane.
Well, Michael did pick up the F, so it will be
Yeah.
interesting. It looks like Ori has Attaboy set up right now on his rack.
Nice.
So that will play to the Y in Zingy. I think, though, I would maybe go over WAP playing Boat. That scores a
Yeah,
bunch
I
and
think I
makes a lot of
like
nice
that a little
plays.
bit more as well.
And that's what he has set up now. I think he's
Yeah.
going to realize that fits, and it scores almost 20 more points. So
Yeah, for
he's
sure. That's
playing
got to
that.
be a better play. That's a nice find.
So yeah, we'll see how Michael approaches this situation now. He is up. He after we update the score, he will be up 142 to 99, and he needs to decide: is he okay opening up a pretty dangerous line that he can't hit, even though it is the best scoring available for him right now?
Yeah, but I don't think that using that spot is really going to leave him very well, though. Like, he really wants to get rid of one of those eyes, and if he's going to put the F there, I don't see a way for him to do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he's looking at Refugia, which, I mean, it
That's a
does
lovely
open
idea.
a triple lane there, but it really does get rid of a lot of the clunk in this rack.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense if Refugia
Hmm.
comes down. And then after Refugia, if then becomes a blocking spot, actually, kind of
Yeah,
coolly.
yeah.
So Ori picked up the other F there.
Funny.
Uh, and so he'll play Refugia, very nice find. And it's now Ori's turn. And let's just display why if can now be a bit more of a blocking spot than before if we switch to our Quackle corner. So before, when Michael was choosing Refugia, if you play something like Fa, this is such a dangerous spot,
Hmm.
right? Not only if with an S or F, you can
But
do a
you can
lot of
get some
stuff.
huge plays going down from NA.
Yeah, like equal and
Yeah,
NAE, for instance.
yeah, that
So,
would score a
okay.
ton of points.
So he plays Refugia, and now Ori says, well, I don't want people to play through this A, so
Hmm.
I can do, I guess he can't do much this turn, but he might
Yeah.
want to block over there in some way.
Hmm.
Anyways, let's flip back to the board as Ori's rearranging his tiles.
Yeah, I'm
So,
wondering if I'm Ori here, if I want to leave that A open, just because he is down
well,
pretty
look what
much
he
a
has
bingo.
arranged. Look what he has arranged with, he already played boat last turn, but he has
Yeah.
flat boat
Is that a
as a
word?
word. It is a word.
Wow.
So I didn't notice it right away. Ori
I did
sees
not
it.
know that was a word. That's a great find.
So flat boat should come down if he is
Oh,
confident
there's
in it.
actually an anagram in there as well, a fault boat.
Oh, I forgot that. I knew
Uh-huh.
flat boat, and
Yeah.
so he is playing flat boat.
Nice find.
Beautiful find. Yeah, I
Yeah, I'm
think that
looking
was
here
our.
in Ziziva, and this has a probability of 21,000. So it's not a word that's going to come up very often.
Yeah, Michael has drawn the blanks, so he might be able to respond
Yeah,
after
he should
that.
be able to find a bingo here with those letters.
Yeah, I actually don't know. Does flat is flat boated a word? Because I
I
might,
don't
as a
know. Let me check
non-bingo.
it.
Yeah, I beat
It
it.
is not.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
As it's so, this would be that would be like an ideal phony if you think that Michael, right? Like if you have a D and an E and you think
Yeah, for
Michael isn't
sure.
likely to challenge,
Yeah, I
flat
mean
boated would
that
be
is a
super
tough
hard.
word to know.
So, but Michael will get a bingo down this turn.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of scanning through the board to see where makes the most sense given Ori's last play. So Ori has a 22-point lead this minute, but something like I see Toluide
Yeah,
to
that
the
looks pretty
E
good. That's what I saw as well.
in Refugia.
Hmm.
That's actually the second. I just opened up Quackle, our bot or our engine, and Lithode, Lithoed, plays parallel to the F,
Oh,
L, and
that's
A
nice.
in flat boat for 80 points. So that would be a great find if he sees it. It's
Hmm.
sometimes tough with really probable letters, and there are so many bingos to keep track of
Yeah.
in your head to see the one that plays in the higher scoring spot.
Hmm.
So he might miss that, but I'm pretty sure he'll find at least a bingo here.
Oh, he'll definitely find a bingo. It's just a question of which one he ends up playing. Like I know for myself, when I have blanks, sometimes I try not to waste too much time always finding the absolute best choice because it's not always going to be a matter of that many points. So like if I can save a little bit of time for later in the game, sometimes I will play a bingo even if it's maybe not the absolute best one.
Yeah, and so I'm also looking at Ori's potential response. Unfortunately, Refugia doesn't take a front P, so improv and Profugia would not be valid.
That would have been nice. Yeah.
But yeah, it will be tough if Michael does find Lethode for Ori to respond in that spot. If we just flip to our Quackle corner, we can show why quickly. Um, oh, but Michael is finding it now, so never mind.
Nice. Great find.
Let's do that. We can now show from Ori's perspective. So the reason is most of the tiles that can go after an I are not what Ori has on his rack, so he won't be able to get a huge counterplay there. And the L, neither an O or U, OL and UL are not words, so he can't play to the left of it either.
Yep.
So Ori's recounting it. And so Ori quickly plays Vum to set up his O as Ovum is a word.
Yeah, that is a really nice play, getting rid of the VU combination, which we all hate.
Yeah, and so and Michael has drawn the Q, no U, and Ori just threw a U out, but Michael
I'm
will likely
guessing he's
play it
just
off
gonna
of.
pop down the Q on the iron lithode.
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense here.
Yeah, it's the only spot that he has for it. I'm not seeing any Q without U words here that place that
Well,
you really do not want to be keeping the.
he might play Kui, which he isn't set up now off of
Yeah,
Ova,
maybe
which
hoping
would
to draw
score.
into a play with the eye after. I don't know if I like that though.
It scores 41.
It
I think you have
does.
to take it. And
Yeah, maybe.
if Ori's playing Vum, he's more often than not holding an O2.
That's
I
true.
think, yeah, you have to play. Yeah, I think you have to play
Yeah,
Kui
I think
there.
some of the times I'm probably a bit tunnel visioned when it comes to the queue, and I just really want to get rid of it as soon as possible. And sometimes I'll miss higher scoring plays because I'm just so focused on wanting to not have that queue on my rack.
Yeah, so I think once you see Kui and look at right, evaluate the merits of Kui versus QI, I give Michael the analysis chops to pull the trigger on Kui at that point.
Yeah, chat's pointing at Coney could also be a good play. I think I like that slightly more because it does put the N right next to the double letter square, which is a little bit more defensive. It keeps a vowel, which is nice.
Yeah, and
And
the
they
other
both they
thing
both take an
is,
S anyway, so
oh, I didn't realize Coney
yeah,
took an S.
yeah,
I forgot about that one.
it does. Yeah,
Yeah, so I was gonna say yeah, with four S's still out, but yeah, it looks like he is going for Kui.
maybe
Oh
he's just
no,
not sure.
he's
Oh, okay,
switching. He's
okay,
switching to
good.
Coney. Yeah.
I was gonna say maybe
So
he wasn't sure of the hook on Coney, and that's why he decided on Kui. But yeah, that seems better.
yeah, so that is a nice find by Michael. Definitely the right idea. And so uh, Ori probably isn't too happy that Michael cashed in that spot he was trying to set up for himself.
Yeah, and you see now what Coney did here. If he had played Kui instead, Ori would have been able to play something like Poon for a lot of points.
Yeah, or prod, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, he maybe just plays pod here off of the E and the Y in Coney, making PE or Pe, a Hebrew letter, and Oi. Uh, so, but he looks like he's. I wonder if he would have tried non-drop there, and seeing Michael could have played
Yeah,
it if it would have stayed. It can't play anywhere now on the board, I think, but I
I mean,
wonder if
it's
he was thinking
definitely
about that.
something you should be considering, especially against a player like Michael, who we've seen many times in the past, doesn't like to challenge words.
So it's a tough position for Ori. I mean, the bottom part of the board, if you play pod, is really starting to close up, and you're down by a bingo basically. I mean,
Yeah.
after this turn, where if you score 27 after pod, you'll be down 50ish. Uh, you'll likely need a bingo here in the end of the game. There's still 39 tiles unseen, so roughly a third of the game is still left to play. So it's not out of the question that he can draw into something. It will take at least one turn, though, and Ori just wants to figure out the best sequence to try to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would want to block that S hook on Coney. I feel like I would probably want to leave that open for myself if I end up drawing something that might be able to play there. I feel like if he plays to the left of Coney now, and then Michael takes a spot up top, the board is pretty much dead.
Yeah, so I
Not
wonder
that
if
he has
he's.
a lot of great options anywhere else, though. Like, that is the problem.
Yeah, he keeps holding the NON tile, so I'm wondering where he's going to put that. Is there a non-extension somewhere on the board?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm
On
not.
tax, maybe?
He could do non-drip uh,
Yeah.
through the eye, uh, but that would be
He might be
using
thinking
six
of
of his
non
tiles.
tax.
Yeah, non-tax might be the idea. That's interesting. So it's yeah, non-tax would really open it up.
It also gives back a pretty big scoring spot, though, to the triple.
Yeah, so in this sort of situation, you need to start looking at the tiles. So if we could flip to our Quackle corner very quickly. So after a play like non-tax instead of pod, you need to look at what tiles can actually. Oh, Ori's actually playing non-port.
Non port. Okay.
I'm actually not sure if that's good.
I don't
Uh,
know if that's. It's not good. That is not a word.
So Michael doesn't challenge, and so we said Ori could maybe start to think about playing a phony,
Hmm.
innocuously, right? Just sort of test the waters. And
Yeah, I don't mind
Michael
that play at
doesn't.
all.
Yeah, and he blocks QI crazily enough.
Yeah,
So really, really interesting phony. If Ori can somehow pull out this game, that will be a key turning point, I think. Right? Michael not
absolutely.
challenging that.
Because Michael is in kind of a sticky spot now, because he's either going to end up having that Q on his rack for a couple of turns, or he's going to have to exchange if he wants to not somehow end up getting stuck with that.
Yeah, my guess is if he's covering up the last, okay, that is an R. So Karojin would play starting with the right through the E and Coney. That would get rid of the other six tiles, and maybe he
Hmm.
can hope to draw the last U or one of the last three I's from his perspective.
Yeah, it looks like he has keg set up now on his rack, probably to go underneath of non-port.
Yeah, so I think that makes a lot of sense too. If he thinks,
Hmm.
although Ori just played six tiles, and you have to assume the other
Yeah,
wasn't a
his rack is
blank, I
pretty
think.
random at this point.
So yeah, actually there are no blanks left. So of course it
Yeah,
couldn't have been the blank. So it does seem like an immediate play to block now the easiest bingo lane, but it doesn't.
I feel like
It
I would be
isn't
more likely to
necessary.
block the S hook on Coney personally,
Agreed.
just because that is a huge scoring spot. And there are still all of the S's left.
Yeah, and also Keg doesn't do anything to accomplish anything with the Q, which now
Yeah,
can start to become a real problem. Like
exactly.
I think Karajin has its merits too, just because at least you're drawing six new tiles to hope to
Hmm.
get the right stuff with the Q.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah,
because
if he
yeah,
doesn't see that play, though, what else would you consider playing here?
yeah, I mean, I think
Maybe something like
it's
Nog.
tough. No, yeah, I mean, you could even exchange the Q and the K in
Yeah,
this
you could.
situation.
But do
You're
you
up.
really want to not score points here, though?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's a tough position, but like I think one of the likeliest ways Michael could lose here is if he gets stuck with the Q
Right.
at this point. And so if you really don't have an idea of how you can actually play it off, right, which I think Karajin is the play that likely does that best by giving you six random tiles
Yeah.
to the Q.
Yeah,
I
if
think
you're in
he
this
really.
position and you don't have a Q play, the best thing you can do is play off as many letters as you can, while still obviously scoring points, just to give yourself a better chance at drawing a U or an I or something that you might be able to play the Q off with next turn.
So he is looking at Nog now, but again, none of these tiles that he keep with the Q really can make short words with the Q, except if you have a U.
Yeah, or you could draw the one of the three I's left and play QI in the top right corner,
Yeah, yeah.
which is a pretty good spot for it because
Oh yeah,
it's most likely
absolutely.
not going to get taken because there aren't that many scoring plays that's going to be able to play up there.
Yeah, so Nog does address the immediate S threat, so
Yeah, I think
I
I like that.
it's a good idea, but yeah, you just have to hope you draw an I or a U at this point.
And lucky for Michael, Or's rack is not exactly great.
Yeah, so it looks like he has Glad set up. I'm guessing that would go above the B and the O in boat
Yeah, that
to
looks
make
good.
Ab and Dow. Um, yeah, it's a solid enough play. I'm wondering if he's considering Gad instead, just because there are so many E's left. If you look, there have
Yeah,
been barely any E's played.
yeah.
It looks like there have only been four on the board, so there are eight E's unseen with
That's
only.
definitely something to keep in mind. Some
So
people
I
might not know that GAD takes an E front hook for EGAD, so
yeah
it would set up a nice bingo lane that you wouldn't otherwise have.
yeah and oh, so he plays Glad.
Okay.
So well, he hasn't his clock yet. Okay, he has now.
I mean, that's a totally reasonable play, too.
Yeah, and Michael did draw the stuff he needed. What a pull
Oh, wow,
after
look at that.
he picked EIU. A very timely draw. So I'm expecting Quinn to come down pretty quickly. to the
Yeah,
N in
that
non-port.
that looks very good.
So Ori needs the right stuff. He could draw some. Oh wow! So if he draws some E's here, no, he hasn't quite.
Mm,
But there are so many E's left that Ori needs to feel good about this. About potentially getting a bingo. Uh, Now it will be one bingo might not be enough after Quinn, just because Ori's down by 51. Quinn would be a 39-point play, so that would give
yeah,
him a 90-point lead.
and the
Uh,
problem also is on this board, even if you do draw into a bingo, it's going to be really tough to get it down.
yeah, so Quinn comes down, so that will be a very nice spot for Michael. He's up by 90 points, and Ori really, I think, will take a lot of his remaining time on this turn and maybe the next turn to think about what he can do here to maximize his chances to win. He could
Yeah,
do something like flatboats and as maybe,
yeah, that would open up a new lane,
but he's
but that
playing
keeps
very
no.
quickly.
Okay,
So
goes for
yeah,
the double phony here with pluralizing non-ports.
yeah, I love this idea.
Yeah,
If
that's great.
Michael didn't hold before, this is definitely the best equity play in a vacuum.
Right.
So
If you didn't challenge the first time, it's probably not going to challenge the second time. That's great.
yeah, so I think this is a very sharp idea. And Michael draws 3 of those 8. I guess he doesn't draw, but he now has 3 of the 8
Yeah.
unplayed E's at this point. We'll see if Ori draws some of the E's here. They pair really well with his letters. And he drew another S. And so now he has bingos like Easter's. We'll see if he'll be able to get something down next
Yeah,
turn.
if I'm Michael here, I'm definitely looking to want to block up top, block that U lane, and the through play of the G.
Through a play of the cheese. So something like Keg, even. Although that
Yeah,
does give an S
that
hook.
looks
Yeah.
very good. Yeah, yeah, but even the S hook there is going to be tough to do much with.
Yeah, Keg is a very definitive play. it,
Yeah.
it, 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 it really puts your stamp on the board.
Yeah, he might look to just score some points underneath of non-ports and play something like EEK as well,
Yeah, and
or even Reek.
the chat does point out that Tessera, one of the anagrams of Easter's, does play underneath the R, E, and F of Refugia. So Ori could get a bingo next turn.
Yeah, true.
Very
Yeah, that
nice
would not be a
find by
lane
the
that I would
chat.
be super worried about if I was Michael, though. It's not going to score that many points.
Yeah, I mean, with the underlaps, it will add a bit, but yeah, it might be around 70 points.
Yeah, probably at the most. Because there aren't really any big scoring tiles left from Michael's point of view other than the J
Yeah,
and the
so
M, I guess.
yes, the J, interesting. I guess, are there any J spots on the board? It doesn't really look like it at this point.
No, but you should be able to score with it, though.
Yeah, so Michael plays.
I
I like this
would have
idea.
played off the R there. Oh, never mind. I was going to say or tax. That's not a word. Yeah, equal looks pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it scores 30, and if you see all the E's remaining, you
Yeah.
might just say, I don't want to get into a situation where I block with Keg for not that much. I draw
Right,
the
and then
remaining E's.
Mhm,
My
yeah.
opponent bingos freakily, and now all of a sudden I have
Yeah.
EEERRT or something.
Yeah.
EEERT, yeah. So I think Eek, yeah, it scores enough that it's doing it's damage control if Ori does bingo. So we'll see if Ori does spot Tessera. He did miss Taxus's last game, but he's
Yeah, he
playing
sees it.
Tessera here. Very nice find.
Nice find.
So we'll see what he pulls. This will be key for him. I mean, he's definitely not a favorite going into this endgame, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, he's giving himself a chance here.
Yeah. So he plays Tessera, hits his clock, and it is within 20 points for now.
Yeah, I think this draw is going to decide pretty much who wins the game.
Yeah, because this will leave only 2 tiles in the bag. So the J is unseen. Yeah, this will be an interesting position. This is the first real pressure test for Michael in a lot of ways, just because last game was so out of hand. This game was, for a lot of it, out of hand in his favor. And now this is the first time Ori's cranked up the heat.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see what he ends up doing in this spot. You
So
definitely don't want to get stuck with all consonants if you get a bad draw here.
yeah,
So I'd
so
be
it
tempted to
looks
try to keep my E if I could.
yeah. Would you just play off one tile maybe to leave one in the bag?
You could do that for sure. I don't know if you necessarily need to at this point because you still need to score points. You don't want to give your opponent a chance to just outrun you, especially if they do J and is able to score like 30 points.
Yeah, yeah. I might still. I mean, it's tough. It's very tough. So he needs to basically break this into a few scenarios. If Ori already has the J, if the J's in the bag are
Yeah, it
basically
looks
the
like he's
two.
looking about something like trim here, maybe through the eye and Quinn.
Yeah, so with that, you need to make sure if you draw the J,
If you
you'd be
draw
able to
the J, that
play.
you have a spot for it, right?
So there's Jam above the A in Achieve and the M in Ovum. There would
Yeah,
be G'd through the
yeah,
E in Tessera.
yeah.
So
I don't
he'd
think he's
have
too
multiple
worried about getting
spots.
stuck with the. I mean, because he would also have joked through the OK and non ports.
Ooh, nice find, yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I think Trim does keep an E and a D, which allows for Joked and G'd at a minimum on opposite sides of the board. So,
right. And it also
uh,
scores enough points that he should be far enough in the lead that even if he does draw the J and has to play it off for not that many points, he should still be able to win.
yeah, and so for those keeping track at home, the O and the E are the last two tiles in the bag. So if you're Ori here, I'm trying to gather if Trim comes down, what his strategy would be. My first instinct for the J was Jeu to the U
Mm-hmm.
and Quinn, but that would be blocked
Yeah,
if Michael does play up there.
yeah. He really doesn't have a lot of great spots to play off the J here, while still. I mean, he's not going to be able to go out in two. I can't really see that happening.
I don't know about
They
that.
could, but I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
like
It's going to be
Jig,
tough.
for instance, I don't know. I need a minute or two, but
Yeah,
uh,
it does look like he goes with trim. I like that play.
yeah. So Trim, good idea. And so now from for Ori, so I will have the engine here, so I'll let people try to figure things out for a few. Uh, but yeah, Ori's going to have a think here for sure. He is down, but sometimes you can find great sequences that do enough here. So yeah, so Jig is the top recommendation actually.
Yeah,
So it doesn't do
it
enough.
just goes to show there really aren't any great plays here.
So yeah, I'm wondering if he could try to do something creative that could keep Michael on his toes. Uh,
Yeah, he might be able to, but I feel like no matter what he does, if he tries to make a setup or something, Michael's just going to be able to block it because he has decent letters to do so.
so it looks like he's saying lieges right now, Lieges through the G. I'm wondering where he would place the J then.
Yeah, good question.
Uh, he's gonna be cycling through a bunch of options here, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Your chat saying it's time to phony with Jilji.
That's true. So Jilgi is a call-in. It was available yesterday at some point. Jilgie, and then you would go out with Jilgies and ES.
Yeah. Does Michael play Collins at all?
I don't know. Yeah, that would be good. If someone knows in the chat, that would be good. Yeah, Jilgi would be actually. Jilgi might win the game then.
Well, but then Michael could also be like, well, I gotta challenge this, otherwise I lose.
Yeah, exactly. That's fair. So I
I don't think he
doubt.
would let us stay on the board unless he had a guaranteed win after.
Yeah, so it will be tough here to do anything that just because the board's already constricted, it will
Mm-hmm.
be tough to do anything that will really confuse Michael.
Yeah, I'm not seeing what that would be.
So, and I think Ori realizes it will be tough often to do an out and two anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
he might be trying to do some creative sequence. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any. So, so one idea potentially is could you try to get Michael to burn off his N and then play REI the next turn, just because REI takes both a back N and a back S. So off of
Yeah,
the R in
maybe.
Refugia and the E in Tessera, if you can slow play and then right, if you could do a diversion play, have Michael play off the N,
Hmm.
do and then play REI, and Michael can't go out.
Yeah,
Is
that's a
there
good
any
thought.
sort of sequence like that? I would be looking for something like that here,
Right.
where if Michael isn't thinking carefully enough, you can make a key setup move in one turn. Now the
Yeah, but I
problem
think he
is,
would be able to block underneath to Sarah, though.
yeah, I think he'd be able to
That.
block, but the other problem is Michael's letters are synergistic enough that most of the time, if he's playing off the end, he'll likely be able to go out a turn later,
Right.
anyways. So yeah, I once did that in a tournament, and I miscalculated it, and my opponent
Oh
just went
no.
out. Like I just missed their one outplay. So
Oh,
like I had an unplayable V, and I saw I could set up. I had virtue on my rack, VIRT or
uh-huh.
VERTU, and I saw with my other two letters I could set up two different lanes, and my opponent could block both of them individually. So I played off one tile, they blocked that lane. I played off the second tile, and they just went out.
Oh, that's annoying.
So
I mean, you tried.
I tried. I tried. So
Yeah, I wonder if Ori just gonna eventually give up here and just play Jigs and get it over with. Or Jig.
yeah, and to be fair, I think also so the chat's asking Gilgy probably doesn't even stay if Michael knows Collins and is unsure because that he knows that would be his only loss.
Right,
The other
exactly.
thing is I don't think Ori plays any Collins at all.
So he
So
might not even know that's a word.
right, so
Yeah,
he might not even be aware of the plausibility of it.
right. Like, I would not have known that because I don't play Collins at all.
So yeah, this is going to be tough. I actually should make sure if Gilgy plays, would it even win? Is a question.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just check that option out now. So, and I'm going to assume that Gilgy and Gilgy's both play.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so if that's the case, Michael would still win by 3 points. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
redo just scores a lot of points.
yeah, redo that would be underneath the
Mm-hmm.
T, E, and S of Tessera. But overall, this was a very well played game. I mean,
Yeah.
Ori found a really nice low prod bingo and flatboat, and a nice over or underlap in Tessera, and also phoned it at an opportune time, I think, in non port. Now,
Yeah. He did everything he could that game to give himself a chance.
yeah, a key thing to wonder is, and so there will be a 2 hour break here after this one, I think, so the players can get lunch and get resettled in. Um, a key thing will be is if Michael learns that non-port was invalid,
Mm-hmm.
and if
Oh, I'm sure
Ori,
he will.
and yeah, and if Ori gives any indication that it was an intentional phony
Mm-hmm.
or it was accidental.
Yeah, I do
So
wonder if he had a feeling it wasn't good or if he just genuinely thought it was a word.
So I think that information, yeah, if there wasn't a long break here, Michael maybe wouldn't have gotten that information, but he will have the opportunity to get that information. So
Mm-hmm.
Ori does the top engine recommendation of Jig. Uh,
Yeah.
Not much else to say there.
Yeah, and well, yeah, he's going for redo. That seems like the highest scoring play.
Yeah, I guess DERE underneath the REF of Refugee and the ERA of Tessera. It scores a few more, but I think it's a worse sequence according to Quackle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for those newer, I keep saying Quackle. Quackle is a Scrabble AI developed by two Scrabble players, or maybe more than two, who also were engineers at the time at Google. And so it's very appreciated. And I know that Cesar, who's been in the chat, is developing a new Scrabble AI called Macondo. Cesar, if you want to put a link to that in the chat, and people are curious about kind of AI and Scrabble, I'm sure you'll have a few people interested in that.
Yeah, I'm also having a request in chat asking us to be quiet after the game so we can hear the postmortem if they do talk.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I assume.
I mean, we're going to
Hopefully, we'll
try
be
to
able to
get an
talk to
interview
them.
with them.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're going to try.
we'll hope.
Try being the key word.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely be a word that we should be asking them about.
So, yeah, I do wonder if it's appropriate etiquette to reveal that non-port is phony to the players, just because I feel like if Ori did that intentionally, is that fair game for us to give that information to Michael?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if Michael was at all unsure about that, it's going to be the first thing he does after the game is pull out his phone and see if non-port was good.
Yeah, and I see Jesse Days down in the chat as well, talking about how Quackle is an inspiration for Macondo, a new Scrabble AI that's in the process of being generated. But there's love for both, and the reason, and it shows how great Quackle is that it's still being used at least 10 years after it was first developed. I actually don't know when it was first developed. I mean, it's been more than 10 years for sure, but yeah, normally in the machine learning world, technology gets replaced very quickly with new technology, and this is and it's had lasting power.
So Michael decides to go for Den instead.
Yeah, I think he's hoping to maybe play ORE beneath the TE and S. Oh no, SE isn't a word, so I'm not sure where he's planning to go with the OR and E next
Yeah, I
turn.
don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm expecting Ori to probably take that spot now, right?
Yeah, with something like so, red can take both a back E and a back S,
Yeah.
which Ori has both of. So maybe ISL can go
Yeah, or
there.
just lies.
Yeah. So Michael might play Fano and or the next turn, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But really well fought game by Ori. I mean, it's going to be within 30 or so points, and that's the most you can hope for when you were down by so much earlier in the game often. And he had an opportune phony and then a pluralization of that phony to try to really come back. He did get a bingo, just Michael drew the right stuff. If there was a situation where Michael didn't draw EIU, keeping QERK, instead did miss the I's and the U's, it could have been a completely different game.
Yeah, I think Ori did everything right this game. I don't think there's anything that, looking back at this game, he's going to regret not doing.
Yeah, and for that matter, I think there's nothing really that Michael's going to regret doing from this game
Yeah,
either.
I think this was just a very well played game overall.
Yeah, so last game we maybe saw some first game nerves, bingo miss on each side, but yeah, this game I think was very sharp across both from not missing the words, but also thinking positionally. Right, playing Coney over QI,
Yeah.
playing non-port as a phony, playing Nog. These were all ideas that address the board.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, while we are waiting, it would be good to hear from the production team just to see if we will get a post-game interview, just so we are prepared in advance to communicate that. Okay, so we did get word that we will try for a post-game interview. So we will not talk for a few to maybe hear some post-mortem, but we will hopefully be able to interview the players as well.
Yeah, that'd be great if we can get him on and ask him a couple of questions. We can even bring back the first game if there's anything that we feel like is important. Oh, Erel, that is not a word.
So Ori, I think, is this the So would this be enough to win even?
I don't know.
Does Michael have any outplays now after Fano being blocked?
That is a good question.
Ridiculous.
So I'm just going to enter it in as valid and then fix it later just to
Oh, so
see.
he just lets it go.
He plays horse, yeah, to win.
That's funny.
Yeah, so nice idea by Ori.
Yeah.
I didn't think so. But
Yeah, and so
Yeah, I knew you could.
so I'd be fine talking about Erel as
Yeah,
a phony.
yeah, we definitely need to ask him about that one.
Not important. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and hoping Michael doesn't spot horse, and yeah, I mean he gives himself a chance to win there, which is more than anything else we were
I
able
don't
to
know if he
find.
does though. I think if Michael knows he can't win, he would 100% challenge. Like there is no way that he wasn't 99% sure that that wasn't a word.
So let's get the table. We'll stop talking and we'll hear the table mic for a few, and then we'll ask players questions.
if we end up tying and those bet points matter, then I'll worry about it. Does that take an S? Because I think it does.
It is.
I was trying to block that. Did you have anything there?
Just checking the scores, but they look good.
Hey, recounting?
No, they're good. I don't feel like
Yeah.
reading this whole thing. 15 is too many points.
Nice game. We're 1-1 now.
Alright, there you go.
Just so you know, the computer agrees with the score. The computer does agree with the score, so there
Oh,
might
okay.
be errors. But you're not telling me that yourself. I believe there's a break now.
Okay. Just there.
People seem to like to come over and take a look. That was really well thought.
Thanks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our post-game interview of Game 2 of the finals of the 2022 Scrabble Players Championship. I'm Morris Greenberg. I'm here with Annette
My bad.
Oberstad. Hey, Annette.
Hello. Let's
And
try
more
this again.
importantly, we are here with Michael Fagan, who just won this game, and Ori Fagan, who won Game 1. How are y'all doing after 2 games?
You meant to say Oi Swift, I think, not Oi
Oh.
Fagan.
I think that was some audio issue there or something. Although, Michael, you did play Oi in the last game, so maybe I was just staring at the Quackle screen. But
Yeah, go ahead.
but we want to ask you about a few plays these last 2 games, and I'm going to be just scrolling through some Quackle things. I think Annette is going to be looking at the chat to see if the audience has any questions. But let's just start off with, so Michael, you looked like you had Aesia set up in your rack and Ixia at various points. What was your thought process
Yeah.
behind playing Ixia on the first turn?
I mean, it scores more points. Yeah, also puts a vowel next to a double letter, which is not ideal. And Ixia keeps ACE, which I think is pretty well balanced. And I put it in the spot I did because I think any other spot I do, it's going to put a vowel next to a double letter score. The only down is if he has an S, but no play is perfect. So I did what I thought was best.
Yeah, I think we all agreed with that play. I think that was nice.
Yeah, I think it was a really nice idea. And so I think one other highlight a few turns later is Ori Flatboat. What a great find.
Yeah, that was amazing.
We know you played Arel later on in the game. Were you 100% on Flatboat when you were putting it down?
I was 100% on Flatboat and Faultboat. I was trying to decide which one to play.
Yeah.
The AL or the LA.
Did you think
And-
this one had a better chance of getting challenged? Is that why you decided on that, or?
No, it's the A position.
Right.
This is much harder to bingo through. I mean, he did it
Yeah.
anyways, but
Yeah.
this is much harder to bingo through, and I had taken the lead. I thought there was about a 1% chance that flatboater was a word, and so I went with that too. So all of those things.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that would have been interesting in the end game. We know Michael had the ER and ED, I guess if you were considering flat-boated as well.
Yeah,
But
had the in game, you would have been treated to a flat boater. For sure.
Yeah. And so, Michael, we saw you scanning for a while. Did you see Lethode pretty quickly right after, or did it take time to notice that there was a bingo that fit there?
It took me a while. I mean, that was like the first place I was looking. I was looking with IED, and I eventually found Lithode. I mean, I did have a triple idolator before he played flatboats, and I think for some people it just takes time. Like, oh damn, my triple got back a little bit of a setback, but you gotta get over things. And I think for me, that's one of the things that like helped me do well this tournament. Not get too upset when my bingo gets blocked. Try not to get too upset if I like lose a challenge or something like that, and avoid wasting too much time. And found Lithode, which are there any other better bingos? I mean, probably not, because I'm just looking at the spots on the board, and I can't imagine there's a better one.
No, that was by far your best bingo.
I think if you're okay seeing a bingo each of you missed in game 1, we can show you that. But for game 2, no bingos were missed.
Yeah.
So
we're both aware of what we missed in game 1.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. People in the chat, Ori, were saying, how did Ori miss a Texas bingo in game 1? And so one other.
I did see it, just to be sure.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, once you know taxa as the plural of taxes, it's so hard to say, am I just making up taxes?
Yeah.
So we've all been there before, I'm sure. I'll ask about, I think, two. Oh, sorry, go for it.
I'm just going to say, like, to be fair for Ori, I mean, XIS, the play he made, gave him a very good winning chance. I think he also knows if he plays Taxes that he would go so far ahead that, from my point of view, I'd have, like, no choice but to challenge. So he would know if Taxes is in fact not valid, that he'd lose a significant amount of win percent, whereas I don't know if Taxes is that much more likely to win than just XIS. So I think playing it safe there was totally justified.
Yeah, I think if you're not sure if it's a word or not, you're better off going the safe route.
Yeah, and so then
it also depends on like what your winning percent is.
For sure.
Go ahead, Morris.
Yeah, for sure. And so, Michael, we saw you shifting between Kui and Coney. Was the intuition there just you didn't want to put the O in front of the double letter score?
Yeah, it was part of it. I also wasn't 100% on Kui, and like, so I think those two factors were enough to cause me to switch. Although I think now I think about Kui, I don't even know if that takes an S, so maybe that's something I should have thought about more.
They both take an S.
So yeah, Naga turn later was pretty a nice way to close off that spot you briefly created. And then I think one more question we had is Ori with Isle. We saw, I guess, that whole endgame sequence. I'm sure you were trying to look for a way to force Michael to make the right decision. It was. When you played Jig, did you think maybe I could play Aurel and Isle, or what was your sort of thought process in that endgame sequence? And
there's a lot of stuff going on there. You know, you want to set up the J somehow. You can maybe do an REI setup on the bottom, and then I have an unblockable S hook or a tough to block S hook. A lot of things going on there, but ultimately he just has redone up there.
Yeah.
So I have to do something to block that. I can play like Lieges, but then I have JI, and JI does nothing. So Jig seemed to be the only play. It's the only logical solution there.
Yeah, and I guess Isle was just for kicks at that point.
Well, you know, if it stays, which he can't really challenge if he's not 100% confident, and he misses his out, something can happen, right? So,
trying to find a way to steal the game makes perfect sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think really well played game, and let's quickly get our other game from before. Yep. So we're getting words that we have to wrap it up pretty quickly. So maybe Annette, can you think of a turn that would be? So let me actually share a different Quackle game for a sec. Hold on 1 second as we get this ready. I forgot. Once you have two Quackles open, I was sharing one Quackle. Pandemic problems. So let me share this screen. Hold on a sec. Okay. So can you see the game now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So Annette, did you have any specific questions from game one? I guess we talked about the taxuses and XIS idea.
Yeah, I
guess-
don't know if I necessarily have any questions. I thought that a lot of the plays were pretty well thought out, and it all made sense. Nothing really that I questioned, but I really liked True's as a play there. That was a really nice defensive play. It takes up both of the best two bingo lanes.
Yeah, Nora, you played that pretty quickly. Did you consider anything else there at all? Like there were higher scoring in these spots, but we assume you liked the positioning.
Yeah, that's all about the positioning. That was a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, that was a nice play.
Yeah, and I guess the one other thing I was going to ask you about was the first turn of the game, Ori. You were cycling through a few different 5-letter words. So what made you decide Plady? If you could even remember that many turns back.
Yeah, so I had Alkid, Platy, and Talkie, and all are very close in my mind. Talkie, the A problem, right? So the A would be on position
Just next to the double letter.
I8, right?
Yeah.
So putting the A there is not something that I really want to do. I think Alkid scored less points. Or it was close. It was between Alkid and Platy in my mind because they were both fairly defensive. And Michael might be unsure that Platy takes an S. And so I went with Platy. Alkid very clearly takes an S. I think, just a very obvious noun.
Yeah.
And Platy's nice and defensive as well. I do think PT is better than KD, but ultimately that's why I went with Platy.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah, so I think we're getting
and also
messages.
Platypus, right? So PUS.
Oh, very, very cool. If only you could keep the P after playing Plady too. Is there that option we could sign up for? Anyways, thank you guys so much. Keep playing great games.
Thanks.
See you
We're really
for at least
enjoying
two
it.
more, and have a great lunch.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.